A quick note before we get into the episode. Oversharing is a podcast for entertainment purposes only. It is not a medical podcast and does not constitute medical or psychological advice. Always seek the advice of your physician or mental health professional. Hello and welcome back to Oversharing. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Dr. Naomi Bernstein.
How are you? How's everything?
Everything's good. What's going on with you? I think you had something you wanted to talk about. So lay it on me.
I had a topic. I guess it kind of leads into the other thing that happened to me yesterday. So yesterday, like around 3:30, I'm like in the middle of a meeting and my internet goes out. Yes. Shocking. Upsetting.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And Mike and I are both working from home.
So you're both like running out in the hallway.
Right.
Like it was like a tornado.
There was a fire. Yes. And so we couldn't figure out how to fix it. So we took that opportunity to meditate. I'm just kidding. No.
Oh my gosh. I just got so excited.
I'm sorry. The look on your face was great. No, we did not do that. Mike had a panic attack because he had his complete busy time at work. So he went to the library, which is like 5 minutes from here. So it wasn't that big of a deal.
Beautiful library.
It is a lovely library, but it's funny because he also has to like take calls to run through numbers with people.
Right.
And they were like, there's no phone calls. So he was like running in and out of the library to take these work calls. Poor Mike. Yeah. And and it was funny. I was thinking, I was like, should I enjoy this internet free night? Because by then it was like, it was like 5.
Oh, it didn't come back in time to get it back on this meeting. It was over.
No, it was not happening. It was over. And then I tried to fix it with the tech guy. It was very funny because the tech guy's solution was like, he just kept having me unplug everything and then plug it back in.
Yes. You're like, you're getting paid for this advice.
Right. It was just funny because he was like, okay, plug out the main plug. 15, and then you wait 15 seconds and you're like on there. Like, what are we going to talk about in the 15 seconds?
Right.
And then you plug it back in. And then okay, that didn't work. Now plug out the part that goes into the router and plug that.
Right.
It's just like,
you're like, why didn't we just do this all at once?
Right.
Unplug everything all at once and then plug it all back in. Oh, wow. I've been there. Very frustrating.
Yeah, that did not work. So they had to send someone who didn't come until this morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I thought about, being off the internet, being off my phone. But instead, I just connected my computer to my phone's internet, which you can do, which is a nice little hack.
Okay.
And I watched a show on there. But
yes,
that segues me to my other my other topic of conversation, which I was thinking about. As it starts to get colder, I'm sure I'm not the only one, and maybe it's like a little bit of the pregnancy, but I have this like weird thing where I just like do not want to leave my house. And I'm just like very much like the idea of like all plans kind of gives me anxiety, not because like I don't like anyone who's trying to make plans with me or because it just feels like, I don't know, like I just would rather be alone or like be home or like be close to home or something like that. And I was wondering like, am I depressed? Like what is where is the line of like, and I was thinking about that because I think that happens more in the winter as it's sort of like less motivating to leave. But just the idea of like making a plan felt like I'm going to have to go to this plan. And even like some, especially when you're in a new neighborhood and you're making a plan with someone that you don't really know that well, there's like this huge feeling of like dread going into the plan.
Yes.
Like, I just don't, I want to be somewhere where I don't have to say anything.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm like, is that bad for us, like as humans? Is that bad for us as a society? Is that bad for us psychologically? Or is it like, is that okay? Is it like should I just be like, all right, that's just kind of like the season that I'm in or something?
Right. Right. Well, here's the question to kind of figure out what it is. Like if I get it, a new friend, there's a little bit of it's a little draining, right? You're not this is sometimes what we talk about. We've talked about it in group. I talk about it with patients all the time. This idea of like, are you showing up or is your representative showing up?
Right.
At this dinner, like, or at this lunch or whatever it is. And like your representative, needs to get paid. It's like a drain. That's like an expense when you send your representative. If you just show up, it's kind of like, okay, this is me. So I guess the question is to figure that out. Like if this friend showed up to your house, or if a particular friend showed up to your house, you're in your pajamas, you're on the couch, snuggling with Ron, and they show up and sit down on the chair. Are you down, or does that still feel like I don't even want that?
I think there's still a feeling of like I would have to make sure they were having a good time or care to, it's just like it's almost like when you're dating versus when you're in a relationship. Like the huge perk of being in a relationship is you can kind of just like be.
Right.
In the beginning of dating, you're like, assessing the person's emotions and how are they doing, and like if there's silence, you're questioning it. Like, yes. I would be fine to like sit silently on the couch
and scroll on your separate phones, like next to a friend.
Yes. Or maybe we talk, but like we don't like. Do you know what I mean? I guess when you're hanging out with when there's someone, I guess that's the difference between friends and family. To an extent, or maybe like once you leave college when you're not living with your friends,
right?
Is there's this feeling of, I have to like you can't, you really should be like speaking and on
engaging,
and having yes. And I like doing that. So, but maybe it's more like I like doing that in a right context when I'm in the mood to do that,
right?
But it is, when you leave it, do you ever have this when you leave a plan? And you're like, oh, I'm so glad that like I did that and it's over. Almost like when you leave a workout class.
Right.
You're like, I did that. That wasn't bad. And like, now I can be like alone in my car, just doing whatever I want.
Yes. Yeah. I think that it does happen for some people that are very, like what you're describing, interpersonally perceptive and like people pleasery, perhaps. Like, if the friend shows up, you're kind of like, I want to make sure they're having a good time. Are they looking at their watch? Do they think I'm being rude? Like there's a lot of this that's very draining to have to keep thinking
right
about someone else's experience. That's what I think makes it harder versus you're here, like how you probably are with Mike. Like you're here. If I want to say something, great. There's someone here to like hear my thought. But if I don't, then I also don't have to.
Right.
Which I think is like the optimal way to spend time with somebody. It's kind of like I could just kind of be fully myself. And if I want to share something, you're there for me to share it.
Right. But there's no pressure to like fill the silence with a discussion.
Yeah. There's very few friendships that are probably really like that. If you're out there and you have that, it's awesome. And maybe that does come from communication around like, hey, I'm feeling pretty low energy today. But if you want to come over and just kind of hang out next to each other, I'm sort of down for that. If you have a friend that you would feel comfortable saying that to, or, maybe you're in a little bit of a phase where you just kind of don't have the energy to do it. Why? We could explore that. Maybe you are drained by, we've been talking about like some fears that maybe you have about like it's the pregnancy testing, or maybe your mind is just idling a lot about a lot of stuff,
right?
Pregnancy related, future related. You're embarking into something enormous. You're working a lot, trying to make up, for your maternity leave. So maybe you just don't have as much fuel in the tank for sending your representative and making sure that the other person's enjoying themselves and all of that, which I think is okay too.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, it kind of reminds me of that conversation we had maybe like a couple months ago where the person was upset that her friend never reaches out to make plans and she's sort of like testing her. And I was thinking about that and I was like, this person were friends with me, like they would think I hate them. But like,
right.
it's so unpersonal in so many of these situations. I'm just kind of like, I want to be alone. I don't know. And I guess that's an introvert. Do you believe in like the introvert extrovert thing?
In terms of, does that exist?
Does that exist? Is that like a real thing? Because I feel like some people, the funniest thing is like every extroverted person you assume is an extrovert is always like, I'm actually an introvert, but they're like have plans every day. Like everyone I think pretends they're an introvert, but I think that I am a true introvert. And I think that what that means is what you get energy from like being by yourself or being alone or being,
or you more so than being with other people, which it sounds like you find a little bit draining, and not only not refueling, but draining. And I do find my experience with my patients and what I see is that more people do tend to, it's almost like the love language thing, kind of like whatever you don't have is the thing that you want.
Right.
If you're totally isolated and alone and you never have plans and no one ever, you work from home and you don't have a partner and you're alone all the time, you're recharged by social interactions because they're not happening that much. But if you're constantly having social plans and it's feeling like too much and you're craving that time alone, which is why, maybe I don't so much believe in introvert, extrovert the same way I don't totally believe in like,
love
you
languages.
have one love language for your whole life. It's kind of whatever you're getting a surplus of, you kind of want something else to just like even the balance a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to take this conversation into my seasonal affective winter.
Yeah. And look, I'm sure, I'm sure there's something to it. It might be good to just talk to your friends and just kind of be like, hey, if you say no to a plan, just like, it's not personal. I'm just kind of drained lately.
Right. I don't even really say no to plans. I just don't make them.
Right.
And because I think I'm a little bit of a people pleaser, I'm never saying no to. I'm always like going, but I'm just thinking about how I don't want to go right up until I go. And then it's fine.
I mean, that's hard. It's like, but when you're there, you feel okay. You feel like, I'm glad I did that. I fueled that friendship.
No, I do feel good after. And it's usually like, fine. Again, I'm not like, I don't think I'm like showing up as a totally different version of myself. But I think when I show up, it just takes a lot to like get there. And then there is this feeling of once I'm done of like, I'm glad to be like back in my pod.
Right. Yeah. I think that's okay. I do.
Do you have that
think it's okay.
ever? I don't know. Or you like don't feel that way?
No, I feel that way. I definitely feel that way sometimes. I don't socialize probably as I don't have as many like local friends and I don't have that many social plans, but yeah, I do get that way where sometimes like I'll make a plan on a Tuesday and then by the time the Saturday comes around, I'm just like comfortable where I am.
Right.
Would rather maybe not have to, again, like be on. It's the one thing you don't have to do when you're alone. You just don't have to be on.
That's why I like a plan with like 3 people at least.
So if you cancel.
Not even so I cancel. Like if I go, I'm not like because if you're in a 2-way lunch or dinner or walk, you're like responsible for half of the conversation. If you're in a 3-person thing, there's like a little bit more of a diffusion of like what everyone needs to bring to the table.
Yeah. The other factor is I think sometimes what's on your mind and are you really sharing? Are you able to share what's actually on your mind?
Well, with a new friend, not necessarily. That's
right.
You got to like get into that.
Right. Like if you had, I don't know, some big thing happen that you really wanted to talk about or talk through with someone or get validation or get someone's advice on, and then you had like a lunch planned, you'd probably be like with the bag ready to go. I can't wait to like share this thing I'm going through, see what this person has to say about it, maybe get some validation for what I'm feeling. But if you're like, what you're going through isn't what you're sharing, that's when it feels like more draining because you're not just like saying what's on your mind, you're saying like the appropriate thing for the conversation and not trying to share too much or burden somebody or So maybe that's something to think about is like, are you, not to say that you're like being a big fat phony, but like, are you sharing what you're really thinking about and what's really taking up space in your mind in these social interactions?
Right. I think I am with a friend I have an established relationship with, but maybe
this isn't the time to be like trying to make
a new
friends.
friend. Yeah. No
That's
new
fair.
friends.
No new friends right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
I'll let you know when I have an opening. maybe in the spring.
I'm not taking on any new friends at the moment. Please join the wait list.
I'll put you on my wait list. Yes. All right. I love it. Let us know in the comments if you feel similarly or if you like a new friend. And it's just so funny because like I think so much because I see the other side of it. I see all these emails and it's like so little of it is like personal, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
Like people take it so personally.
Now that I'm reflecting, I do think that I have encountered many people that I'm kind of like, oh, you seem cool. I could use a friend, and I'll lean in to kind of maybe like say we should hang or like try to, and I get kind of a no new friends vibe. So I think there are a lot of people out there that recognize their boundaries, don't want to do the let's make friends thing. I've probably been.
Can you give me a tip as to what they say to you to get you away from them?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, everyone I'm referring to is like a lovely, nice person.
Of course. But it's like a little bit of a vibe. It's just a little bit of I'm not like, perfect example, right? Like if I'm bringing the kid, like one of my kids over for a play date or something like that, there's like the parent that, because my kids are a little bit older, there's the parent that's going to just like pull up in front of the house and drop the kid, and the kid comes up and rings the doorbell, right? That's like the no new friends parent.
Right.
And then there's the parent that's going to like walk the kid up to the door, ring the doorbell, say hi, make some small talk, or vice versa, kind of be like, hey, come in. There's these little subtleties of like, I feel like hanging out or I don't feel like hanging out. Like I'm going to just establish when you're picking your kid up and like end of conversation, or, hey, want to come in for a second? Like I, want a cup of tea or drink or what? Yeah. So yeah. Just keep it short and sweet.
Love it. I feel like this is my first day on earth. You're like, this is how you hang out with people more. This is how you get them away from you.
Yes. I think you got it.
Interact in a social situation.
Yes. I don't think you're depressed. We're having a couple chuckles. You're about to have, a huge life-changing experience.
That's what I'm saying. I love like what I'm like excited when I'm like so excited to walk in the door and just have my dog like there and like just watch TV and make dinner and chill. Like it's I do feel like I'm like happy to. That's almost like my question is whether that sounds, I guess it sounds depressing, but I get a lot of joy from it, but I'm like wondering if that's because everyone's like live life to have as many experiences as you can, live life to the fullest. I'm like, I'd rather just like be at home, I think.
Yeah, I think that's actually fine. How do you feel about the fact that me and Jeff and the kids are about to descend on your nice, quiet, peaceful, non-social
that I'm excited about. You guys are also not coming for that long. So it's like going to be, I'm saying like, if you were coming again for 10 days, I might have like a mental gear up for like, and that's one thing. Also too, we are not like new friends. You can come and go as you please. I can sit on the, when I think about when everyone was here in the summer, like a lot of it was us like sitting on it. We're all like, everyone's sitting on the couch
sitting around,
phone. Yes.
Not speaking. Right.
Yes. Which is like, again, I don't want that all the time, but it's nice to be able to tap into that without a sense of, should we be trying to artificially create a conversation? So I think it's different. It's different. If you said like, I was going to have a new person that I met in town come stay with me for 3 days, I might have like a heart attack.
This
is fine. Yes. Anyway, let's get into our show. We have a voicemail at the top of this episode, a little shed my shame. And if you want to leave a voicemail, you can call 646-363-6294, or you can email us at oversharing@betches.com. As always, if you want to subscribe, you can subscribe to our bonus episodes. You get 2 bonus episodes a month, all the episodes ad-free and a day early. Or you can join one of Dr. Naomi's therapy groups. And how do they do that?
Yes, come find us, naomibernstein.com. I actually think I mentioned last week, I have a couple of individual therapy openings. So if that's something you're looking for, couples, I'm always down. I feel like couples are one of my favorite populations to work with. Have lots of long decades of experience, both personally and professionally. So yeah, naomibernstein.com, join a group, maybe bring your partner in. Let's see what we can do.
All right, let's play. Our first one is a shed your shame. I haven't gotten one of those in a while. Let's roll the tape for our voicemail.
Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. I'm a big fan of the podcast. Love you both. Subscriber. Congratulations, Jordana, on your babies. I'm so excited for you. I have a triggered / shed your shame. So yesterday, our recycling can was out on the curb, and we got a text message from our neighbor saying that he had run out of room in his own can. So he put some things in ours, and while he was doing so, he noticed that there were some plastic trash bags in there, and that we shouldn't do that because the city doesn't want us to. It's bad for the machines, etc. So initially, I felt really triggered that he would have the audacity to put something in our recycling can without asking first, and then proceed to tell us that we're not doing it right. But of course, I also then felt shame that we're not doing what's best for the environment, which I care a lot about. But sometimes with kids and life and work and all the things, a couple of rogue trash bags containing recyclables end up in the recycling can. We won't do it again. But anyways, wanted to see your thoughts, get your take on this one. Felt a little triggered, a little shamed, but all in all good, just a little silly. So anyways, love you both. Thanks. Bye.
This one was funny.
This is funny. I could see what this is like, someone going through your trash and being like, I see you were late paying your phone bill last month. You should probably get on that.
Yeah,
It's
this
like,
is crazy.
You're going through my can. Like,
yeah. First of all, like, it's not like you asked. You probably wouldn't have even said anything. Which not that I think it would be a huge deal to put, if the person next to you, your next door neighbor has some extra room and you put it in, I think that's like fine. I don't know. Is that wrong? I've never done it, but if someone did that to me, I probably wouldn't know. So I wouldn't care.
Right. I think it's fine if it's like you're not overflowing and it fits and you close the top and like, yeah.
Yeah. If it fits, and again, all those things. But to do that, and then to like critique their recycling habits is crazy.
Yeah, that's quite annoying. It's nice that you feel like, look, I guess, she's probably not going to do it again. Like she said, maybe it'll make her think about, but the idea that someone could go through your private personal stuff and then comment on what's in there in any context without your permission is really annoying.
Yeah. And the most annoying thing about this, I think, is that this guy like thinks he's morally superior when like it is so much less moral, I think, or like more immoral to like help yourself to a favor and then give someone unsolicited advice while you're doing the favor that you didn't even say yes to.
Yes.
To me, that's a far larger crime against humanity than forgetting to put some trash bags in the recycling bin. Which if the city has a problem with, they could contact her or leave a note.
Right. I agree. I guess devil's advocate, if you're going to give him the most benefit of the doubt, that he was kind of like, oh, maybe she doesn't realize that you can't put the recyclables in a bag in the can that you have to just put them. Maybe she's not aware. So I'm just going to let her know, by the way, this is kind of how it needs to be done. I wasn't sure if you knew that. It doesn't sound like that's how he said it. But
I still don't think you can say that if you're like going through someone's trash can without their permission. I think if he saw it sticking out of the trash can and he noticed it, wouldn't be the end of the world if he said something, if he really couldn't stop thinking about it. Or if he saw a piece of trash on her lawn, like you're whatever. But to like, again, that's like opening the trash to comment on like the way you do it is crazy.
Yeah, it is cool. It's like eavesdropping in someone's house and being like, you didn't speak to your husband very nicely last night.
It's crazy. So I think his is more shameful, but you always get a little bit of a sense of like shaming when you're not doing something by the book and you're called out for it. Cause I think there's so much stuff we all don't do completely by the book. Like I bring out, like I have recycling tomorrow and technically I think you're supposed to break down the boxes.
Yeah, you are.
I don't really they don't really seem to care if you break them down or not.
Okay. I guess if they fit, then maybe they fit, but
That's what I've heard. No one's ever said, they still, I would imagine like if they don't, my thought is like, if I'm not doing it correctly, they won't take it.
Right.
Is that would be how I would run it if I were running the trash business. It would be like, if it was a big enough problem, I'd say if the boxes aren't broken down, don't take them. Or if there's
that's a sign that you're not doing it the right way.
If there's a trash bag in the thing, then don't take it. Or if they leave out the wrong kind of garbage, whatever.
We're gonna leave it here. Yeah. I hear you. There's a lot of things where like you can do that. Like I have 3 kids and they eat a yogurt and like they're supposed to wash out the yogurt container before they put it into the trash can. So sometimes when it's like, there's a lot, before they put it into the recycling bin, there's like a lot of stuff going on and I'm trying to get them just to like do their regular life where now I have to kind of be a nag and be like, hey, can you take that yogurt container out of the garbage, out of the recycling bin, rinse it out and put it back in after I'm just nagging them to like brush their teeth. And it's like, so
and don't come for me, but I don't even know if the recycling like goes anywhere legitimate. I've heard opposing things about that. Not to say you shouldn't do it. I still do it just in case it's going somewhere good.
Right.
But like, wouldn't it be annoying to find out?
Yes.
Like when you read that stuff, you're like, and I've been yelling at the kids for years to wash out the thing. It all goes to the same place.
Right. Yes. Right. It is true. But
that was fun. When I lived in an apartment building, you had to take out, like when we were doing construction, you had to like bring your thing out to like the main garbage of the complex and like toss it in there. And I remember being to the guy, I'm like, oh, like where do we put the recycling? Like this is where we're putting the garbage. He goes, just put the recycling in there. Like we sort it after.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no fucking way you're sorting the garbage after it's already like there's someone going through all the garbage to sort it out.
Yes.
You're lying.
Someone said that to me too. And I was like, who's doing that? Going through and taking out the items that like shouldn't be in there, or I don't know. If you're in this business, please come and let us know if you are the person that's checking if the yogurt containers are washed out or not. I really want to know if it matters, how we can do it. I want to be part of the solution, but every second counts around here.
There's too much mystery around what happens when the trash and the recycling leaves your house. I think if it were being done right, they would let us know somehow.
Yeah,
because it would be motivating. If there was like commercials on TV that were like,
yes,
and this is this is where your boxes have gone, I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna.
Or like a video, like the crayon. Everyone's seen like how crayons are made. That's like a video that's gone around. Have you seen that video? Like it's like the factory of like the crayons and like how they're made. Like I'd love to see the video of the recycling plant and what happens there. I'm sure I can Google it after we finish this recording, but it will motivate me and maybe motivate her to find out, yeah, this actually matters. I mean, it does say clean and dry containers. So I'm going to keep that as the gold standard.
Okay. I was hoping you were going to share some sort of like other recycling faux pas that you did so I would feel better about my admission about the boxes, but that didn't happen. Now I'm feeling shame.
No, my admission is that like oftentimes we do put a yogurt filled container with like yogurt scraps into the recycling bin and do not really take the time to rinse it out.
Okay. Under arrest.
So.
Canceled. All right, let's do a Betchicist. I'll read this one.
Okay.
Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. I'm a huge fan of the show and I love listening every week. I'm married with no kids yet, and I learned so much listening to Baby Steps. Thank you for all you do, and congratulations to Jordana on her babies. Thank you. On to my question. When this happened, I immediately thought I need to write in. I was at Jared's comedy show. That's Jared Freed. Comedy show in DC in October. It was so much fun and my face literally hurt from laughing. But there was some drama pre-show that sort of put a damper on the mood. It wasn't Jared or the venue's fault at all, but puzzling to think about even now. So my husband and I had seats at the end of a row in this theater. He and I had gotten drinks and were balancing them in our laps since there were no cup holders. I would say that the rows and seats were pretty generous for a theater. They were just big enough that the people who needed to pass us could squeeze by if they needed to, but it would be more comfortable for us to stand to let them pass. I promise this is relevant. There's one couple, she's just giving us the lay of the land. There's one couple sitting in front of us and a group of girls next to them in the same row. Before the show started, the lights were on in the theater and everyone was chatting and drinking and waiting for the opener to come on. At some point, the group of girls who did not appear to know the couple in any way decide they want to exit the row so they can get more drinks. They ask the couple blocking the end of the row to get up, and the wife/girlfriend, let's call her Karen, really takes her time. Someone from the group of girls, let's call her Brenda, says, "I know, I'm sorry, it's annoying, you have to get up," in what I thought was an acceptable tone of voice. Karen immediately snaps. She goes, "Shut the fuck up, you stupid bitch." Wow. Brenda is like, "I was just asking to exit the row." And Karen is like, "I was getting my drink from the floor so you didn't knock it over with your fat fucking feet, dumb whore." Oh my God.
This is crazy.
I would be like behind them with popcorn, like trying to get a snack or something.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Brenda looks shocked and walks away. Karen is fuming and her boyfriend/husband is literally not talking to her. Brenda comes back later with her drinks and literally climbs the seat in front of her to get in so she doesn't have to pass Karen. I would do the same thing.
Good move. Yeah.
Brenda is obviously gossiping about the situation with her friends, and Karen yells over at them, "I can hear you talking about me, you dumb bitch," and goes off on them. At this point, her male partner tries to calm her down, so Karen storms off. Brenda and her friends are obviously shaken by this random and unnecessary verbal attack. Karen comes back with 3 tall boy hard seltzers and starts arguing with her date. Asking
That's what
why
she needs.
That'll make this better. And starts arguing with her date, asking why he didn't defend her. He says he couldn't hear what Brenda was saying about them. Definitely not true. My husband and I are texting about how crazy this was and asking if we should say something to stay out of it. Many people in the row surrounding us are blatantly watching with their jaws on the floor. It just seems so wild for Karen to curse Brenda out like that, like something out of The Housewives. I remember thinking, I can't believe this crazy woman is a fan of Jared. Karen chugs these 3 drinks and gets pretty drunk very quickly. At this point, I'm honestly thinking she drank all, those are all for her? Wow. At this point, I'm honestly thinking she's going to get kicked out of the venue for being so drunk. She does not get kicked out, and we all continue watching the show and have a great time. At the end of the show, I remember being worried that Karen and Brenda would get in a fight, so my husband and I exited quickly. But then I got to thinking, was it wrong of me to not intervene? Would it have been more ethical to step in and say something like, "Karen, please stop yelling at Brenda. You're freaking us out"? Or should I have gotten the venue's usher and pointed out that a crazy lady was drunkenly screaming at other patrons? I feel a little conflicted because I feel bad for Brenda, but I ultimately am glad that I didn't stick my nose in it and risk getting cursed out by Karen. Also, Brenda clapped really loudly during the show, and it was sort of annoying. Thank you so much for your thoughts. A front row seat to drama, Betch. All right. Well, we have a treat for the listeners because the comedian in question for this show, Jared Freed, has read this email and has given his own take. So we're going to listen to his take and then we're going to give ours. So if we could roll that audio, that would be great.
I just read the email about Karen and Brenda, and I'm in literal shock. To the emailer, thank you for coming to the show. I'm so happy you had fun. I don't think you say anything, but I do think context, nuance matters here. If it was, I have this happen all the time at my shows, and this happens at any comedian's shows. People sit down and they bring in the room whatever happened with them before they sat down. Fight in the car, something at the house, their relationship that isn't going as well as they would hope it would be going. So sometimes you see a couple that you're like, the energy is bad. And I would say that this Karen woman came in with the worst energy anyone could ever have at a show. I do think if it was the genders were reversed, we'd be having a totally different conversation. You might have gone and said something. Like if a man was being that short with people while sitting with his wife who's like, oh, I couldn't hear anything. Maybe the section would feel more unsafe and more, and less fun than the section ended up being. So I do understand why you're like, it kind of like changed the vibe of the section. It changes the vibe for me on stage. When it's a theater, it's hard to feel that because maybe that person's farther away and they're not sitting up front with their arms crossed. But going out and getting 3 tall boys to chug during the show, seems like they're dealing with something. And to call Brenda, say her big fat foot and call her a stupid fucking bitch. I don't even know how someone can sit there after saying that to someone. So I'm agreeing with you. I think it's uncomfortable, but because it's a woman and she's being that way with other women and the husband's kind of like, I'm going to stay out of this because she's been on one all day. I understand why we could all go back to normal and kind of ignore it. If it was a man, I would understand going to an usher and being like, hey, we're all feeling a little off in this section and this person's kind of yelling at people. So the usher, I would never, I'm a lot more like her boyfriend, where I'm like, oh, something happened? Was Brenda's foot, big fat foot got in the way? Oh, no. Oh, I didn't even notice. Guess I'll be more on the lookout next time. I feel him so, I feel like I might have been him. Maybe I was in the crowd just sitting at my own show with my girlfriend yelling at me. I don't know. I just connect with that guy so much. Something happened? Yeah, it happened right next to you, dude. So I really appreciate this email. It's fantastic. Ooh. Thoughts and prayers to that guy.
Okay. What did you think of Jared's take, and what's your own take?
Yeah, I liked his take. He's being empathic about the day that she had coming into it, because I'm sure something happened that day. So nice of him to acknowledge that she is also a human with emotions. She also sounds like she was probably already drunk before this happened.
Good call.
I don't think any normal person just talks to a stranger like that when they ask them to please move, so they can get out of the row. It's just she was. So I guess maybe when she said in the beginning, it's no fault of the venue, maybe what she was alluding to is that she was overserved or.
Right. I mean, she could have had a drink also before she got there. They could have been to a bar.
She probably had a lot of drinks before she got there, walked in already drunk, which is why she thought that she needed 3 more hard seltzers. Sounds like before the show even started just for her.
To drink throughout. Yeah. Did you not even get one for your date?
So I agree. This is my personal policy, and this is what if someone asks me for advice on this, like, I do not try to talk sense into drunk people. Like, I do not try to reason or rationalize or have any kind of conversation. So I would not recommend that. And I liked his take that when it's a woman, there's not a fear as much of it becoming physical, which I don't know if that's a fair generalization.
Right. It might, yeah. I mean, it definitely could become physical. I mean, you've seen women get into, like, I guess they call it cat fights.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an okay term, whatever. But I guess it's like, I guess the idea of like a man getting mad. I don't know. I think maybe like it feels like men are more likely to have like a weapon on them or something, or maybe, I don't know if that's true, but like I would be a little more frightened if like the husband got involved,
right?
Maybe, or I think there's a little more. I agree with you. Like, definitely could get physical with a woman, but I think I'd be more scared if a man was like yelling at women or getting up, or he might be more likely, even if not, it's not impossible for a woman to start a fight.
Yeah. Look, I think if it would have continued into the show, sounds like for some stroke of God, she shut the fuck up once the show started, which was great. And everyone enjoyed the show.
Mostly. I mean, seems like, but she screamed at them. She could hear them talking about her, right? I think, or was that before the show started?
It seemed like all of this, I guess that's a good question. It seemed like all of this happened before the show started. Maybe I'm wrong. If it was during the show, I could see more likely getting up and being like, this is annoying. This woman's like not stopping.
Right. Yeah.
We got to do. I would never personally get myself involved in this.
I agree. I think I'm thinking about this, but I'm also thinking about like any altercation you might see anywhere, even if you're unsure if the person's drunk. I think it is always like a little bit of a risk of someone becoming violent, and I would be scared to like get involved. If it seemed like someone was like really yelling or harassing someone, I would more likely call an authority who's trained to deal with that situation, whether it was like an usher or a cop or someone around that situation who would like have more experience in how to deal with those scenarios than like inserting myself to defend someone, which you might want to do, especially if you feel like someone's like being yelled at.
Yeah, this seemed like a very one-sided verbal attack and like vicious and just really mean, like a bullying thing. So it's an interesting thought. If I was walking by like a middle school,
right,
and I heard this interaction between two girls, I'd probably go and like get a teacher, or like I
would you say something?
I would probably then insert myself.
What would you say?
Actually,
like, don't
what
do that.
Would I say? Like,
I don't know.
Back off or leave her alone, or
right.
Kind of something like that to just kind of, de-escalate and get involved, because it just seems like it's like like she was being bullied, that woman.
Yeah. No, I know.
But you also think like an adult is kind of like, okay, she could be aware of like not taking it personally. This woman's, troubled in some way. But a kid maybe would maybe take it more personally or be more sensitive
or more vulnerable, I guess, in that scenario to, being bullied or being abused in that scenario. Yeah. I guess if it's a kid, you should probably say, if it was like a man screaming at his wife.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like, I guess there is this thing of like, if there's like a more vulnerable party, there's more of an urge to protect. And I think because of how intense this was, this Brenda did seem like the vulnerable party here.
Right. I think that's a great point. It's like, how is it two people who were like screaming at each other? Because that I would kind of just walk away from.
Yeah.
Or if it's a couple, listen in. But if it's like one person doing the screaming and the other person is not fighting back either physically or verbally, I think then it feels like they need, they're weaker,
Protection.
they need more power, they need more protection. So I think that's a good point. But here because and it's also like, where is the nearest by person to help? Sounds like there's like people who work at the venue who could be better for this. If this was on the street, I don't know. There's no one around.
Yeah. And also in this type of situation, like, you bought a ticket. This is your seat. There's nowhere to go. Like, you can't just decide to move away from this person. So you're kind of trapped. And if it sounds like two of them, either the partner and the friend, or these parties were like literally sharing an armrest. How awkward.
Uncomfy.
Like, they're right next to each other. Oof. Anyway, I'm excited to go see Jared. This just makes me, seeing his face and hearing his voice just makes me more excited. I can't wait. We're going to go to the Dallas show. Can't wait to hear the new stuff. He's literally the funniest. Like, I can't wait.
He's the best. Yeah. And I mean, it must be a great show if they stopped fighting during. If it was a horrible show, woman would probably be like bored. And
that is a good point.
Yelling at the person next to her, right?
Totally. Yep. You're a peacemaker, Jared. All you had to do was start your show and everything
Dalai
went
Lama
away.
basically.